22 Magnum versus 9mm in our Speer Gold Dot ammunition. This is going to be a compact gun test. And generally compact guns are not subcompact and they're not full size. So generally they're about a 4-inch barrel semi-automatic and a 3-inch barrel revolver, and both are about the same size, overall size, so I figure that's a pretty fair comparison. So we have our 22 Magnum Speer Gold Dot. It is a 40 grain. It happens to say short barrel on it. That's really the only variety they have in the 22 Magnum. And our 9mm happens to be a 115 grain standard pressure, and a lot of people have been wanting to see that particular load tested for some time, and I actually have not tested it, surprisingly. So we're going to see how our standard pressure a 9mm does versus our 22 mag. Our 9mm, I believe it's rated at 1220 feet per second through a 4-inch barrel, which this is, and this simply says, I think, 1050 feet per second, but there is no barrel length tested. So testing against 9mm, the reason why I really want to do that is because a lot of people say 22 mag is very good for self-defense. It's just as good as anything else. Well, if that's true, then if we compare it to the most popular setup here, a 4-inch barrel 9mm, that'll give us kind of some idea of its performance in comparison to average and see if it really stacks up. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test, which is going to be a shot of just plain clear ballistics, no denim, nothing like that in the way. And then I'm going to put in a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard after 3 inches, which is representing our pectoral muscle. And we're going to have 4 layers of denim on the front of that. That's going to be a bit more of our real world scenario, as where our plain clear ballistic shot is just our best case scenario. Then I brought out this 2x4 because I did some tests in the past where I set up a 2x4 in front here just to kind of say, you know, what if there was a barrier in the way? I know a lot of people kind of scoffed at that, like, oh, who's going to be carrying a 2x4? But really, that just kind of represents just an average barrier that might come in the way. And when I was shooting a 22 long rifle, even the Federal Punch would not get through this, and people were accusing me of doing something wrong to make it tougher, which I found kind of funny. But we'll just see if 22 Magnum makes it through, since 22 long rifle would never make it through. And then I'm going to shoot up my steel silhouette just to kind of see what kind of practical accuracy we can get. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up is our 9mm rated at 1220 feet per second from a 4-inch barrel. Let's see what I get with my 4-inch barrel. 1175, 1127, 1149, 1111, 1134. So pretty far below rated velocity, considering they did list a 4-inch barrel, and that's what I was using. Decent accuracy. 22 mag, 1050 feet per second. It's rating with no barrel length showed. So let's see how close we get to 1050 with our 22 mag. That's obviously an error read. That's not quite right. That is definitely not right either. So generally when this happens, there's something about the flash or the smoke that it's reading rather than the bullet, and I have to back up to 7 yards to get an accurate read. So let me back up, see if I can get an accurate read with this round. All right, I'm about 8 yards from the target, so let me go single action and see what we get. 1195. No read. No read. Not reading it. Well, let me load up some more. I got to get some reads with this. All right, I'll keep going with this. I think I'm going straight over the sensors, but it's just not wanting to pick up. Let's see if I get another read here. Interesting. $11.25. All right, I tried some different holds to see if, you know, putting them on paper a little bit different area would help. It did not, but at least we got those 2 readings, and that is what we're gonna have to go with. And it's kind of a weird phenomenon since the 9mm had 0 issues. So let's do our ballistic gel test and see how these do. All right, plain clear ballistics, no denim, no MDF in the way. Best case scenario, see how our 9mm will do. All right, let's try 22 mag. All right, 22 mag. Let's see how this compares. Let's go take a look. All right there, and in some respects, that had comparable results. Very interesting here. With our 9mm, we have a penetration of about 13¼ inches, which is perfectly acceptable. The 22 mag, we're closer to about 12¼ inches. So both of those met our minimum, which by the way is 12 inches that we want to see to have a good defensive round. So let's put in our MDF and our fiberboard, because that's more of like going through clothing, going through a pectoral muscle, and then hitting ribs or sternum, and we'll see how that real world test will do. All right, 9mm through our MDF denim. See how it does. All right, let's try our 22 mag now. All right, 22 Magnum. See how it does. Let's go take a look. All right, when we get to more of a real world scenario, we're seeing a few things going on here. Our 9mm did okay. It didn't really expand, but it did good damage. And we went right to about 18¾ inches penetration, which really isn't over penetration in my book, because most people are thicker than the average nowadays of what that number was based on. So it probably would not pass through. Now with our 22 mag, we're seeing something different where momentum comes into play, where there's a lot less momentum, and that just kind of put it wherever it wanted to go. So it came down here, it rested right next to this track of the 9mm at about our damage here. It's really hard to see exactly where it is, but it looks about like 11¾ I'm going to call that good. That's close enough to 12. You know, again, people vary, and that 12 inches was meant to be a minimum through an arm. So I think both of these are actually doing okay. So now let me put this 2x4 in the front, because that's kind of a I guess real world barrier, and we'll just see, you know, if the 22 mag actually makes it through. Here's a little closer look from the other side here. 9mm 22 mag. Look from the top here. It's our plain gel. Here's our MDF on the top now. MDF. Interesting. All right, so we got everything in place. We have the wood, the 2x4, you know, the denim, the MDF, all of that. So see how our 9mm does. All right. Now I'm gonna go above that with 22 mag. See if I can finally get a rim fire to actually go through this board. Let's go take a look. All right, so we got through, and you know, it's kind of hard to see with this old gel block, but what we're seeing is that with our 9mm, it very easily goes through everything, you know, and even our 22 mag had kind of a little bit of help here, because it wasn't the same hole, but it was right above it where it was kind of weakened. But you know, seeing how far it went in the gel, it definitely would go through either way. But with our 9mm, even with that barrier, we're at about 15.5 inches. As where our 22 mags at about, you know, we can say 7 inches or so. And try to take a look from the top. You know, we had some significant issues going on where the bullet curved. And, you know, no real expansion, just a little bit of deformation of that bullet. But, you know, these are bonded bullets, so those jackets stayed on just fine. So let me shoot at my steel. I think I'll do 25 yards, just kind of see where they're hitting, and then I'll move on to further distance if I think they're accurate enough. So let's do that. All right, 25 yards from the target. While I'm in the mood to discuss this, I wanted to bring up a point. It's driving me nuts. You know, it was kind of funny until about the 80,000th I mentioned that I need to work on my stance. I shoot like this. This is a widescreen camera. When I go to the edges, there's a fishbowl effect that cannot be changed. So I'll go from looking like this, center, and I stand right here. This is what it looks like. I'm not leaning back, it's the camera. So please stop. But let me shoot from 25 yards here. I'm gonna do 6 on target. Let me just go center mass, real centered, real slow, see where they hit. Interesting. It's normally a very reliable pistol at a malfunction, but it looks like it's not a very serious one. One that's just a... There we go. Let me try to do a controlled pair center. All right, let me do a headshot if I can. I may have one over the top. All right, 22 mag, same thing. I did adjust the sight since I first got this, because when I first got it, it wasn't quite on. It was hitting really high. I turned the screw down about as far as it'll go. So I'm curious to see where it's hitting now. All right, let me do a control pair. All right, let me try for a headshot. I think again, probably over the top a little bit here. Let's see how this ejection is. Totally fine with these. So, you know, these are definitely not super powerful compared to some 22 mag, but what you get in return for that is less case swelling, and you can do that. That could be a very important thing for self-defense. So let me go back to 75 yards. I find that fun, mostly why I do it, and see how I do with these. All right, 75 yards. Slow fire. By the way, this is a Ruger Security 9. I never mentioned that in the beginning. 4-inch barrel. And my revolver's the LCRX 22 mag. Slow fire, 75 yards. Let's see where these hit. I have no idea where that went. Again, I don't know where that's going. All right, they're going over the target. Because that time I aimed quite a bit lower on the steel, and I can kind of see where I'm hitting. So let me aim below the target. All right, so those shot pretty high for me. And again, I can see another headshot, or almost headshot. I was aiming probably 4 inches below the entire target. So that's the gun. 22 mag, let's see what I can do. I'll try some double action, see how they do for me. Just gonna aim center. I had a couple misses. I'm not exactly sure where they're hitting because these don't move snow or anything like that enough for me to be able to actually tell where they're hitting. I'm going to load up a few more here. And I got a bunch of change in my pocket, so I'll be right back. All right, I had a bunch of quarters in my pocket I forgot about. It took me about 2 minutes to sort those out and reload. So I'm reloaded, and I'll keep going with this. The trigger on this isn't great because it is a rim fire, and they do require more hammer strike to make it reliable. So you pay for that with your double action trigger pull. Very easy to miss, but when we go single action with something like this, this would be one of the guns that I would consider better in single action. Most of my revolvers are better in double action because the hammer actually travels less distance, so it's easier. But with this, I think single action might be a little better. Maybe not for me. Let me go back to double. Alright, so I think I'm just pulling a little bit to the right or something like that. So that's what you get today with our gold dot ammo test. You know, I typically like to focus mostly on the gel testing with this and the power and all of that and the chronograph test. Not so much on the accuracy. Sometimes that comes into play. But from 25 yards, both were plenty accurate enough. We were hitting dead center mass. So I think as far as self-defense goes, you know, that's going to be fine. A little bit weird. We're kind of hitting all over at distance, which doesn't really mean a whole lot. It means something to me, but not to most people. Now with our ballistic gel test here, what we saw is with the 9mm, we had excellent performance. We did not get expansion going through our real world test, but we also did not get over penetration, and we got good damage. So it's just the way it's impacting that. Maybe it's tumbling, maybe not, but we're still getting good damage, just defeating that barrier. With our 22 mag, it did well in our plain clear ballistic shot, but when we went to doing our test with the MDF and denim, it kind of didn't do that well at all. I still think it'd probably be effective, but you know, this is kind of why when you look at 22 mag stopping power chart, stuff like that, it shows like 29%, 30%, as we're 9mm showing like 90%, because you could make accurate shots with both of them, and shot placement does matter. But when we're seeing what it would do against a rib or something like that, you might make good shot placement, but is it doing what you really want it to do? Is it not curving off because of lack of momentum and missing what you were trying to actually hit? So that's why bigger calibers are more effective. Shot placement might be important, but when you get some real world stuff going on there, it makes a big difference, and it lowers the effectiveness quite a bit. So not to say that this wouldn't work, it's just to say that, you know, when we're hitting center mass with something bigger, it's definitely going to do a better job. And going through our 2x4, I was actually pretty surprised that this went as far as it did in the gel after going through the 2x4. I thought maybe it would poke through and go an inch or something, but no, we went to several inches. As where our 9mm, again, just like through our MDF and our denim shot, you know, that barrier was not a problem. So that's a good 9mm round overall. It's a very good 9mm round. And with our weird accuracy at distance, a lot of that has to do with just the weight of the bullet. And it's kind of weird how it affects it. But if this was a 124 grain, it would be hitting dead center, basically, from my experience with this stuff. So that's what you get today with our gold dot 22 mag versus 9mm. This 22 mag stack up, sort of, not really. So that's what you get. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.